Hello and welcome to Explore Analytics. Today we're going to talk about Explore Analytics' brand new project and portfolio management analytical application for ServiceNow. Before we get into the solution, let's talk about why Explore Analytics is building reports around ServiceNow's PPM module. What we've heard from a lot of organizations that use ServiceNow for project and portfolio management is once you want to get past a certain point, there's only so much you can do with the reporting. You run into a wall and you wind up building reports manually in Excel or dumping the data out into some third-party tool to build a data warehouse or to massage the data elsewhere. And often it means that you either have to choose between accepting the limitations of the report or doing a lot of manual effort or development work to get the reports that you want. So we're going to talk today about how Explore Analytics can get you to that next level of maturity without all of that additional headache. The reason why project and portfolio management reporting is so tough with ServiceNow is because the data is scattered in a lot of different areas. There's projects, portfolios, tasks, plans, allocations, time cards. All of this is very key information. It tells you when work starts and stops, what you planned and what you actually budgeted in terms of both times and people. And maybe you want to even combine that with business data. For the purposes of the project and portfolio management analytical application, we're going to treat as though all of these are within ServiceNow, but one of the things that really makes Explore Analytics shine is that it actually doesn't matter to us where these different components of data lives. Explore Analytics really excels in tying together all of this information regardless of what table it's on or even what source of data it's in. So even if you're looking at time cards in a third-party time carding tool, or if you need to pull in an Excel sheet that has the budget or resource availability, you'll be able to see all of that in one place with Explore Analytics. The reason is because we take a different approach from other reporting tools. So the typical reporting tool that you'll use when you can't get what you need in the inbuilt reporting is some sort of a data warehouse. You'll copy the data out of ServiceNow and out of those other tools to build one large super database that has all the information. And then report developers will generate reports built on top of that and distribute that to users. But if you're a resource manager or a business analyst and you have questions about the data, you may not be able to get those reports yourselves. You may need to request that the integrations that's collecting the data be changed. You may need someone to, come and write code on top of that. And the data is never going to be as fresh as you need. It'll be, ideally daily, but it might even be as slow as weekly or monthly to be able to get that latest piece of the data. And if you're changing resource plans in real time or people are filing time cards in real time, you're never going to be looking at that up-to-the-minute data. Now, what we see is that in real life, users are served in a very different way, which is when your manager needs that data, you export to Excel and build it manually. It gets you what you need, but in a very brittle way. You have to do the reports manually. You can't rely that the data is actually the accurate data the moment you pull it out into Excel. And you can, mistype something in an Excel spreadsheet and have that generate completely false information when you're dealing with it. So let's talk about Explore Analytics. Explore Analytics is a complete end-to-end reporting solution that's going to help clear up all of this data mess. It's self-service, meaning that you can just drag and drop to create ad hoc reports. So if your manager walks in and says, hey, what are these people doing today? You can get that information to them in a very quick way without requiring any development, any knowledge of SQL, any hard technical skill set to be able to deliver those reports. We're really tailored around the business analyst skill set to be able to deliver these reports. Secondly, and we're going to see a lot of this today, is real-time operational dashboards. So rather than requiring on regular dumps of data, because we're reaching to ServiceNow and gathering that information in real time, you can actually see what's going on right now in the projects and know that this is the correct data and you're seeing it in real time, even when we're doing advanced calculations, even when we're gathering data from different parts of ServiceNow to create more advanced reports. On top of that, we also allow you to have continual process improvements by tracking KPIs and standard metrics. So if you want to know whether your resource management process is getting better or worse over time, and you want to snapshot and trend that, that's built in within Explore Analytics, and we'll see some examples of that as well. Lastly, And this is the primary focus of today's video, is we're going to talk about a pre-built library of reports. In this case, this is our project and portfolio management analytical application, but we've done the same around the core service desk processes as well, which you can see in other videos on this channel. So all of this is available for ServiceNow and for other data sources, and we're seamlessly integrated so that you won't have the feeling of being in multiple different tools. You'll really be able to provide your users with a real-time dashboard that also brings in KPIs and benchmarks and trends over time, that's interactive within ServiceNow, even if the data isn't all within ServiceNow. The reason we're able to do that is because we take a very unique approach. Explore Analytics is running in our cloud, and when you run a report, we run queries in real time to ServiceNow or to MySQL and Oracle databases, to other cloud data sources, and brings back that information. So if you're looking at, say, a report that has planned versus actual budget, and the planned budget is in a Oracle database, and the actuals are in ServiceNow's project management, we'll run those two queries at the same time, and you can even present that in the same report without the data having to come out of ServiceNow, without you having to import huge amounts of data into ServiceNow or build it manually in Excel. And you can add into that Excel spreadsheets or Access databases. So if, for example, you don't have a resource availability module built out, but you have a spreadsheet that says what resources are available, how many hours per week, you can upload that and include that in your reporting. So you'll see all of this in action in just a moment, and we'll get to see how the Explore Analytics project and portfolio management analytical application will give you that visibility across all these different tool sets. So now we're looking at an instance of ServiceNow with Explore Analytics dashboards published directly into it. As a user, when I pull open this dashboard, I'm automatically logged in through ServiceNow, so it knows who I am. It can filter this based on, who I am within ServiceNow, show me only what I have permissions to see, and all of this stuff straight under the covers so that I'm not aware of any of that going on. I just see here an interactive dashboard that's giving me a high level of the project and portfolio information for ServiceNow. I'm going to walk through the components of this dashboard, but I'll also point out what Explore Analytics is doing that really makes this a seamless solution. So first off, I have here some scorecards that are showing me the estimated budget and actual cost across a number of different areas. Again, this is something that, in our out-of-the-box application is all from within ServiceNow, but if some of this is actually living outside of ServiceNow, we can present this in the same way, wherever that data lives. And then here I'm also seeing the data at a high level on each of those projects, the key about what they are and who the project manager is, the risk, the issues, the percent complete. But one of the great things about Explore Analytics is that we have these slicers that allow us to really dive into the data in a quick way. So if I want to see just the green IT initiative, and I actually only want to see it for critical or high risk projects, because that's what I'm currently interested in right now, I can even select a time slice. So if I wanted to say during this quarter to date or last quarter to date, I could do that. But for right now, we're going to leave this for all time. And I can see here, these are my 4 projects that meet that criteria. I can see that they're high risk. I can see the ones that are work in progress and pending. I can see how many risks and issues are there. Now, I want to dig in and learn a little bit more about this cloud health management project. It's high risk and we're still very early in the process, and I want to get a little bit better information of what's going on. One of the great things that we've introduced with this project and portfolio management application is that when I drill down, rather than drilling down to the actual project itself, it's going to take me to another tab within this dashboard. This is the project details tab. It's still giving me this information on the cost, the planned, the estimated, and actuals. And it's also giving me this earned value management report that's showing me where we are in the project up until this point. Again, this is really key because we're getting more information about this specific project, but we're still seeing a lot of great information in a very visual and interactive way. If you don't know about earned value management charts, I'm going to break this down very quickly. We have a deeper dive on earned value management also on this channel if you want to learn more, and particularly if you want to walk through how you can build one for yourself. But at a high level, there's 3 parts of it, earned value management. There's the planned value, the earned value, and the actual cost. The planned value tracks according to the original plan of when the tasks in the project would happen, and the original plan as to how much work would be done at each stage and how much value would be recaptured from it, what's the timeline for this project. The reason for this is because the earned value management is great for visualizing projects that don't happen at a steady pace. So, for example, in this project, you can see that a lot of the work happens up front. Almost all of it happens within the first few weeks, and then there's some steady additional work that happens until it closes out later in August. If you were just to look at this from a percent complete perspective, you would have no idea that, at the beginning of this project, we have so much work to do. Then we look at the earned value. The earned value says, based on the changes to the plans, what would we expect to have recaptured? So, for example, if there's changes since the project was originally planned to the scope, or changes to the timeline, the earned value is going to show what that latest version of that plan is. So you can see we still have some work that happens up front, and over time it slows down. But if we compare it back to the plan value, we'll see, if I hide the actual cost for a second, we'll see that it started a little bit earlier, and the scope overall of the project is less. We're actually overall doing less. So that's the important part of the earned value, is that we don't want to constantly compare ourselves to the old plan if the old plan is no longer in effect. It's useful to know, which is why we still include it, but at the end of this, we'll have actually spent 4,600, not the 5,800. And then the last component, which is why it's really great that this is a real-time interactive tool like Explore Analytics, is that we're seeing the actual cost. So with that changed timeline, what are we actually seeing? So you can see that at the beginning, if we compare the actual cost to the earned value, this project started actually a little bit over budget, so we put in more than we thought we were going to put in. But over time, it slowly comes back in until it meets that earned value towards the end. This is really great. It's telling us in a very specific way where we are in the project. The project has been scaled back since the original plan. It started a little bit overdrawn and then slowly worked itself back into the updated plan. That's the power of this earned value management. It allows you to really easily compare the plan versus the actual and all the updates along the way in the real world where work is not constant over the course of the project. It really gives you an apples to apples comparison, and with Explore Analytics you can get that in real time for any of the projects that you're tracking. If I go back to the portfolio and look at this report again, we also have the ability to drill into the risks and the issues. If your project management organization is tracking those key risks and key issues and making sure that they get closed out, I can drill through. And again, it's going to take me to another one of these dashboard tabs that really focuses in on that. I can see who has responsibility for managing those risks, what the estimated cost, whether any of those risk costs have been realized, etc. And again, I also have that ability to look at it across all projects. So if I wanted to see, well, how does this compare to all projects? I can see, okay, these are the managers who are dealing with the most risks. These are the projects that have the most risks. I could look at it by which are the highest, cost risks that we have to look at. Or which are the ones that have actually brought in the most cost. So, this one actually, the contractor did fail in this compensation project, and it cost us $17,000, which was over what was estimated. Again, this is all real time, and it's all coming directly from ServiceNow. So I don't have to worry about, is this the most up to date? Is this not the most up to date? I know that I have that data at my fingertips here. And we can see something very similar if we drill down into the Issues tab. It's going to take us to look at those issues, both either for a specific project or for that higher level. And I can even drill through to the actual ServiceNow records to take action. So in this case, I'm going to pull open that issue record and take a look and see what's going on. If I want to get an update, I could say, what's going on, update that, whatever I need to do. But what's really key is that I have the ability to go from the broadest level down to the most specific level and take action. And because this is real time, those actions I take will immediately be seen and will immediately take effect within this project. Now there's two more very powerful tabs that are part of this dashboard. We've covered the portfolio and project and the issues and risks, but we also have, if you're using project baselines, a very powerful dashboard to be able to compare your current progress to the baselines of the project. What we really want to understand with this tab is how close or far are we from our original plan. So I can see that this cloud health management project that we've been digging into has 1 delayed milestone, it has 3 delayed tasks. Again, I can see, which project manager is handling these and which resources are supposed to be handling these. And I can also see, how much of it has been going on time. In this one, we're actually grouping these tasks into 3 different buckets, which you can see easier if I look at all of the tasks at once. We want to see, are these tasks, generally speaking, on time, meaning that they're happening at or earlier than they were scheduled. Ones that are happening with minor delay, meaning, within a few days of when they were expected. And you can, of course, tweak what the definition of minor versus major delay is. Or major delay, where something has really gone off the rails. We can see now that I'm looking across all of those tasks, which resources and tasks right now have the most major delays associated with them. Maybe it's a resource balancing issue, maybe there's some communications that need to be reset, maybe it's unavoidable, but I can really easily poke my head in and see what are the bottlenecks. Unsurprisingly, the biggest delays are the tasks that don't have a resource assigned to them. That tells me that maybe we have an issue with our resource assignment process that I want to dig further into. Speaking of that resource assignment process, maybe the most powerful tab that we have is the resource management application. This is a very good example of what I was talking about at the beginning of being able to combine data from multiple tables or multiple places, because depending on how you're using your project in resource management, these data points might be coming from multiple tables or might even be coming from multiple data sources to be able to say what's the planned versus the actual. ServiceNow has some pre-built user interfaces, but if you want to group things in a different way or build these reports differently, you really have to do some work to be able to get that. So right now, again, I'm looking and I'm seeing for this portfolio, for this particular project, what are the resources that are allocated and how is that working out planned versus actual. So I can very easily see how many hours they were allocated, how many they actually used, and then, what's that percent allocation that's there. We're also using KPIs to track how that has changed over time. So right now, the average across this project is about 42% used. So this is still in project. This project is still in process, so that probably sounds like it might be a good place. But for example, if I look across the entire portfolio of projects, then I see that overall, we're about 60% allocated, so maybe we can do a little bit more efficient in terms of assigning people. And again, I can very easily see here, okay, a lot of people in this Cisco Jabber project basically hit the nail on the head for the assignment, except for this person who seems to be 260% over allocated. Now, that might be a data issue. It might be that they worked more than they should have been working, or they had to cover for someone else. But again, because of this color coding, gray and yellow, red, because we have this very well laid out and very easy to navigate, it makes it very easy for me to, again, see that this is there and then drill through to the details and see, what's going on and get further into that information. So now we have this real-time dashboard, this analytical application that has, a lot of interactive capability. It's real time. It might be pulling data from multiple tables in ServiceNow or even from outside of ServiceNow. So if the actual column requires time cards that are in a time carding system that's outside of ServiceNow, that's not a problem. All of this is very powerful, but making sure that your users have the ability to easily access and interact with it is just as powerful. So this is right now being presented through the ServiceNow user interface, but because we're using Explore Analytics, we can actually present this anywhere. This could be for executives in a standalone SharePoint site or an intranet portal, or it could be part of an executive portal that you've already created for other purposes. Anywhere that accepts HTML, we're able to embed that. It's also, fully responsive. So you notice that when I take it down, it actually becomes a single column, still fairly easy to read and interact with user interface. So even on a iPhone or an Android phone, your user can pull this open and get that real-time information and interact with it. We can also take this dashboard and schedule it to be sent out on a regular basis. So if you wanted daily, weekly, or monthly for someone to be able to access that, you can define that. I can even check this off to say frozen dashboard, which then gives me a copy of this that is from a particular point in time. So that way, if at the end of every month we all want to look at the dashboard from the same time at the end of the month, it's just as easy as checking that off, saying what emails we want to send that to, and defining a schedule to send that out. So all of this, everything that you've seen, is pre-built within Explore Analytics. The last thing that I want to point out is that although this is a pre-built analytical application and we want to make it very easy for you to just turn this on and get started, we're aware that every organization does this differently. So we've built this on a tool that makes it very easy for you to define this and configure this however you need. So for example, this allocated an actual report that's showing me, this percent used column is just as easy as defining this formula builder right here, actual hours divided by allocated hours. If I want to pull in the resource manager instead of the resource, it's just dragging it in, dropping, and now you'll see that again, it's still real time and it's pulling this information for me straight here. Thanks for joining us on this examination of the project and portfolio management application. Explore Analytics has a free 30-day trial that you can connect to your ServiceNow environment and try out this application. If you want to try the project management application, feel free to contact us and we'll make sure that you get set up with it. We also have plenty of other videos. I mentioned our earned value management video that's elsewhere in this channel. You can also find our pre-built reports around IT service management, incident, problem, change, the service catalog, configuration, knowledge. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you get some really great analytics out of your ServiceNow environment.